Ladies and gentlemen, welcome to the Curbside Network. I'm your host, Jay Kirby. Joining me tonight is an author of a very interesting comic that I got a chance to kind of preview. I'm very interested to hear about it tonight. Aaron Cohen, thank you for joining me tonight. Thank you for being on the show.
Thanks so much for having me, Jay. Appreciate it.
Yes, it's a pleasure to have you on. Looking forward to talking about this very fascinating comic known as Schticks and Stones, which props to the name on that, by the way,
Thank you.
because I thought that was extremely clever. I use that word, I use the word shtick constantly, so I felt seen on that. But ladies and gentlemen, thank you for joining us. Thank you for watching. Thank you for listening. As always, like us on Facebook, follow us on Instagram, tap the little bell on your YouTube app so you never miss an upload. We are still doing Renegade Rangers every Friday night. We're off this night or this coming Friday, but we will be bringing you guys more and more Ranger episodes on Twitch and YouTube and our Facebook, but I cannot do any of this without our sponsors, Collected Comics and Games here in the Dallas Fort Worth area. They have two locations. They have books, they have comics, they have minis and paints, everything your nerdy little heart needs. I mean, half the shelf behind me was provided by Collected, and by provided, I mean I bought it there. Um, they have everything you need. Go check them out. They're wonderful. We love them very much. Um, and because I brought it up, Renegade Rangers every Friday. Uh, and we can't host a tabletop game without dice. So shout out to our dice sponsors, ST Way Gaming. Jason and his team are working very hard to bring you guys some of the best dice. He's got vinyl, he's got metal sets, he's got accessories. So go check ST Way Gaming out. They're on Facebook, they're on Instagram, and they have their own website, stwaygaming.com. And of course, we cannot bring any of this to you without money from merchandising. So shout out to our merch team, Peach City Inc. I'm rocking their Gengar design tonight. Uh, 100% custom made t-shirts. You will not find their designs anywhere else. They are all pre-washed, pre-shrunk. This is legitimately one of the softest and most comfortable shirts that I own. So shout out to them. They are also, because I'm going to try to get this episode out by the end of the week, they are also going to be with us at DamnCon 3 this weekend, Destroy All Monsters, here in Texas, in Garland, Texas, this Saturday, April 25th. We are so glad to be back. We got to do DamnCon 2 last year, and we're back again this year. But it is their third year of running the con. So go get your tickets now. Everything's available on Facebook and at damncon.com. But with that, let's get into the interview. The man of the hour, Aaron Cohen. Thank you for sitting down with me, Aaron.
Yeah, again, appreciate it. Thanks so much.
Absolutely. So, I talked a little bit about it at the intro. What is this wonderful book, Sticks and Stones, all about?
So, Schticks and Stones, this is the Schticks and Stones holiday special, which is the first in the series, and we decided to start with a holiday special because we thought it would be a great entrance to the characters.
Mhm.
So, it's essentially three Jewish holidays, three madcap mysteries, one Michigan family, and it's really this one family that goes through all three holidays: Hanukkah, Passover, and Purim. And each one is an individual mystery. The original idea from this came from a short that Alex Schumacher, my co-creator, and I did for the Cloakroom. The Cloakroom had Scott Snyder presents the Cloakroom had a holiday anthology. It was issue 3. We did a story in there called Crime and Passover, which is
Nice.
also in
I,
this
li-
book.
I like that title.
Yeah.
That's clever.
Yeah, and Crime and Passover was in that one, and that was the first appearance of the Feynmans. It's the family in the stories. And after we did that, kind of looked at it and said, we want to make this in perpetuity. We want to keep going with this family. We feel like that it has something there. Um, and the main protagonist is a 12-year-old named Ben, who is fancies himself a cross between Columbo and Bugsy Siegel. So he sort of goes around and creates little mysteries for himself to solve like a detective, wearing a suit. during all the holidays with his family. Um, and it's really about holidays and traditions, quirky families, and how, how much everybody has in common. And we want people to be able to see themselves in the story that's really funny and full of joy. Of a big influence of the Sunday funnies, things like
Mm.
Calvin Hobbs and Peanuts and the old Harvey comics and the old Archie comics. So we're just trying to bring that through in the work we're doing.
No, I definitely noticed from what I've gotten to see through your guys' Kickstarter, which you said you guys are officially halfway through.
Halfway through
Uh,
today, 15 days
so
left. Yeah.
look look at that. So I'm hopefully going to get this out as fast as I can, so as many people can hear this interview and donate to your Kickstarter. But from what I've seen of I don't want to call it the concept art, but essentially the concept art for the book is I was very much getting a Calvin and Hobbes kind of energy,
Yeah.
and I've as a fan of Calvin and Hobbes, as the Peanuts, the Archie comics, I would consider that a huge um, compliment to anyone trying to go for that writing. So I'm glad that that's a little bit of your guys' inspiration is
Yeah,
those
for
kind of
sure. Especially, mine for storytelling, Alex, I think, in the artwork that he does, those strips and pogos and things, he always talks about being a big influence
Mhm.
on him. And it's fun doing something that's full that people can enjoy on multiple levels.
Oh, absolutely. And I'm always a sucker for a good holiday episode of anything. So, um,
100%.
I I f- I will say I find it interesting because I mean, not a lot of people uh or at least not, we'll call it more mainstream, don't understand or follow these particular holidays. So it's
Hmm.
interesting to kind of see a point of view from people that do celebrate these holidays that maybe not get as much mainstream attention, as much love. So it's an interesting look inward at something that not a lot of people get to experience.
Yeah, I appreciate that. I think it was something, it's always put out there, something you wanted to see, something you wanted to see as a kid, something you wanted to see as an adult. And if I had a project or a book like this to read, a comic like this to read when I was younger, I would have loved it, right? I would have been hiding it inside of something and reading it and having fun and sharing it with people. Um, because the Sunday funnies were a huge part of growing up.
Hmm.
It's a kind of like a comic that everybody loves without knowing they love comics because they're reading it in their newspaper, right?
Hmm.
So you don't have to read comic books to love comics. You can read the funnies, and all of a sudden you're talking about a Far Side at the office, right? Um, and I grew up, and so did Alex, on these holiday specials, the Peanuts,
Hmm.
Thanksgiving special and the Halloween special. And what's great about those, and something that I'm trying to do with this series, is it's universal, right? It's specific. It's specific in your experience and in your culture and in your holiday. But the feelings of wanting to be seen, a kid at an adult family holiday, all this extended multi-generational families that get together, not all the time, right? That's a universal thing. Um, and the goal is to read it, and the holidays are there, and it's real and it's authentic and it's a love letter to our family. But the A story are these mysteries that you're going through, and you're seeing all of the culture that's in it, but you're experiencing it through a different story. So it's not educational, it's for entertainment. But if you
Hmm.
learn something along the way, huge bonus, right?
Absolutely. No, so I'd like to ask, where did the inspiration for the story come from? Because I know you're more the writing side.
Mhm.
So as a very much in my case, I'm a wannabe writer. I don't think I'm aspiring. I think I'm at wannabe status right now. We'll get to aspiring eventually,
Writing is
but
writing, yeah.
as a writer, where did you come up with the idea for these stories, for these adventures, and for these mysteries?
Yeah, it's like I said, it's a love letter for our family. So a lot of it is inspired by experiences, even though there's amalgams of things for Alex and I.
Hmm.
Um, so it's not so much, a family member would love to look at it and go, I'm this character, right?
Hmm.
Not necessarily, but there's little moments of things and little pieces of people that you put in that are inspirational and also universal things that are funny. Um, the idea of making the mysteries, it's just something I think has been living in my head for a long time because when you go to these holidays, something like Passover, for instance,
Hmm.
the whole mystery takes place over the Seder, which is the dinner that you have and all together as a family. It could be an hour and a half to 2 hours of reading uh, for the service during the Seder before you eat anything. And for me, I thought, well, that's a lot of time for something to happen behind everybody's back, from
Hmm.
like a mystery point of view.
Right.
Um, and then I started thinking about things like, Agatha Christie and things like Clue and the idea that this character of Ben, who wants to be seen as bigger than he is and as more of an adult than he is, to use that as a proving ground of a theory that he has, to stand up and say, hey, everybody at the table, something's going on, and I'm going to tell you what it is kind of a great start to something,
Hmm.
right? And that's sort of how Crime and Passover, sort of came to be. And then after creating the characters within that story, it was a much easier jump to expand it because the hardest part was nailing the tone between comedy and emotion, of then expanding it into these other holidays and how do we make different mysteries, Scooby-Doo style,
Hmm.
out of the holidays. So we have Hanukkah, which is titled Eight, which is a spiritual sequel to Seven,
Ah.
but more based on the
Ah. Okay.
on the eight nights
Okay.
of Hanukkah. So it's called Eight, and you have Ben and his cousin teaming up, the Brad Pitt and Morgan Freeman of the
Hmm.
Feynman family. Um, and they're teaming up to find out, try to figure out what they're getting for Hanukkah, what their presents are going to be for Hanukkah. Um, but every time they try to figure it out, someone else beats them to it and everything gets destroyed. And they're trying to figure out who's trying to do this. Um, so that's eight. And then the Purim one, the fun thing about Purim was I wanted them to all be different mysteries. During Purim, people dress up in costumes and the kids do sketches and plays and things like that. And that's relatable on lots of different levels as well. But you almost can do it like a costumed masquerade mystery.
Hmm.
Who's We don't know who's who. Everyone's wearing a mask. Everyone has a motive, right? So a family heirloom goes missing, and Ben and his dad at that time team up to try to figure out who in the costume party took the family heirloom and what's happening with that. So
Excellent.
yeah, so it's just finding the end to each holiday and trying to create ones that visually would be different, with Alex to be able to enjoy illustrating them.
Oh, excellent. No, those all three of those sound fantastic, and now I need to get a hold of them and read them because that's those sound like if it sounds like you could perfectly write it as either super serious or just the right amount of serious with a level of oh, I always forget what it's called. Um like self-understanding that this is a goofy comedy, but they're going not taking a dramatic mystery too serious and being able to make some jokes out of it.
Yeah.
I'm extremely intrigued. So now I gotta get my hands on it. So I definitely gotta ask, where did you get your start in writing? Where did your I guess your passion for coming up with these stories begin?
Yeah, well, I loved, writing and comics, from a young age, and I always was kind of looking into it. Never really saw it as a vocation, you're like, oh, I do this, and then eventually you kind of come to it and you're like, oh, I can keep doing this and I can, if make a living at it, or if you're not making a living at it, you can still be pursuing it. And it's like there's always ways to tell a story. And I think if you have a story to tell, there's no age limit on telling stories. There's no limit to who you are to tell stories. Just tell your story, and it's putting a piece of yourself out in the world, no matter what the story is. And I think nothing bad can come from that, you know. Um, And so I started off doing film and television work. That was my focus, was film and
Mm.
television, and focused a lot on that. And then, you know, was always writing, and I have a number of rejection letters from Marvel and in different places. Um, to this day, that I still have Spider-Man on the envelope, and that's super
Mm.
cool, even though it doesn't say, yeah, you. Um, so, and you build that up, and then during the around the pandemic, Kubert School was offering online courses,
Mm.
and I thought, it would be really interesting, and I always wanted to take courses with Kubert to kind of jump in and just kind of see the differences between film and TV work and comic writing specifically, so I can really hone my writing towards just comics. Um, and it was just eye-openingly fantastic in what that offered. Um, and took writing courses and other courses and lettering things and just was immersed in that. And from there, started doing more and more anthologies and things like that. Um, and that led me to where I am now doing, this series and pitching another series and just building on it from there. But once I really sort of focused on the differences between specifically comic writing and enjoying the medium and dissecting what made it work in a way that was enjoyable and exciting, it kind of all came together for me in creating stories just for the medium.
Excellent. Any TV or film projects that some of the listeners might be aware of or have seen in the past from you?
Not- Well, I did a lot, back in the day, I did a lot of reality television work, and that
Mm.
was a huge thing. I did a lot of short film work. That was, I did festivals, I did the festival stuff with short films.
Mhm.
um, did a project that was acquired by Sci-Fi Channel at one point, and that kind of stuff. So, and then I ended up going behind the scenes a little bit as well and doing producing and directing on that end. So, it's been great to be able to do both and kind of wear multiple hats. And what I love about the switch from film and TV to comics, or just like the switch, flipping the switch from film and TV
Mhm.
to comics. Um, is the collaboration of comics is so different and so intimate, um, compared to film, which is a little larger. It's just a larger
A
scale,
little bit,
right?
just
Film TV
just
is
a smidge.
such a larger scale, um, that when I'm writing for comics, I'm sort of writing for the artist to interpret what I'm saying because no one's ever going to read my script as a script. They're going to read it as a comic, right?
Right.
Um, so it's kind of this very straightforward thing. And now that Alex and I, this is our third project collaborating together, and with Ralph, our colorist as well, Ralph Singh, um, it's a real shorthand
Mm.
for the projects that we do together. So in the script, I actually just write to Alex, almost like it's a letter in between things. I'm like, Alex, do this here. How about this? What do you think of this? Maybe something like this, because we have a very similar sensibility.
Excellent. What were your previous projects with Alex, and what were those like? Tone wise,
Yeah.
genre wise.
So the first one was Crime and Passover. So the first one was the
Mm.
one that's in this. So the first one was Crime and Passover. We were introduced by a mutual friend, Tony Wolf, who's an amazing writer and artist as well, out of Brooklyn. Um, and I had sent him the script and I had told him what I was working on, and he said, "You need to meet Alex. You'll get along if you work together, and you'll also get along if you don't work together."
Mm.
So I was like, sent him the script, and then we talked about it, and he was in and was kind of saw that everything the same way I did. Um, so we did Crime and Passover together, and then the next short we did was called The Spelling Bee,
Mm.
and Spelling Bee just dropped. I just got my comps the other day. It looks fantastic. Ralph was on that as well. Spelling Bee is more of comedy horror.
Okay.
Um, and that was a lot of fun. And the concept of Spelling Bee is kind of finding your people.
Mm.
So, a teenage witch can't find, doesn't know where to fit in. Her parents are like, you have to put yourself out there if you want to make friends and meet people. So, join extracurriculars and do these things. So, at the behest of her parents and her better judgment, she signs up for a spelling bee at her school, but thinking that it's casting spells and not spelling
Oh.
words. Um, so, on page one, everyone's spelling words, and the last panel is her going, "Oh crap."
I love
Yeah,
that actually.
yeah,
I maybe it's my sense of humor, maybe it's just the way that you guys write, but I love probably much to the pain of some of my cohorts on here on Curbside. I love a good pun. So some of your titles, just some of your ideas have been so hilarious to me. Eight instead of seven, crime
thank
and
you. Yeah.
Passover, a witch in a spell, Ingby. I absolutely love that. That's wonderful to me.
Yeah, I'll get you a copy of it. I don't know if I sent it to you on a PDF, but I'll
Hmm.
send you one.
Please
Um,
do.
it's
I
a it's a fun little story. I'm really proud of it. Essentially it kind of turns into Carrie, where she gets so anxious that when she starts spelling, all the letters start forming
oh
and they just
no.
start and it just starts, killing audience members.
If Oh my goodness. Okay, if
Yeah.
I'm gonna bring up an old memory for myself, and if I can find a copy of it, I'll get it to you somehow. So when I was young, impressionable in high school, I was part of theater. And one of the only play I've ever acted in, because believe it or not, for someone that has a podcast and does conventions and pro wrestling, I had terrible stage fright in high school. Um, a friend of mine wrote a play called Storybook Reunion Murders, and it was two rival high schools that were filled with fairy tale characters. And so, like, there was a queen that represented all the queens in fairy tales. Prince who represented all of the princes in fairy tales. A wolf that represented all the big, the big bad wolf and every wolf in fairy tales, so on and so forth. But every single line in this play was some sort of pun. So half of the Queen's lines were Queen lyrics,
Nice.
half of the Prince's lines were Prince lyrics. Um, I played the horse, the trusty steed to the prince, and because I was born and raised in Indiana, I came on stage decked out in Indianapolis Colts attire. And it is just an entire play stuffed with puns of that nature, and very much your writing and what seems like your sense of humor is just brought up a beautiful core memory for that.
That's awesome.
Oh my
I'm
goodness,
glad I can help. You can't beat that.
what a show. Yeah, I'm definitely gonna have to find that script for you and send it to you. I think you'd love it.
Yeah, that sounds
um
funny.
from an excellent writer named Scott Hahn, a friend of mine. So I'm oh my goodness, that's so good. But no, I think I really have to appreciate, because it seems like some of your stories are very, Sunday funnies, but also a little bit coming of age, where it's
Hmm.
like, I can recall, you know, uh, I was not surprising to everyone that's ever listened. I was not raised Jewish, but I was raised Christian. So I've had many times of sitting in church, letting my mind wander on these daydreams or on these adventures that your character's
Hmm.
going on. So I love that it can connect to just about everyone,
Yeah,
uh,
I love that.
regardless of their upbringings.
And I think that's a lot of Alex and I's, motivation too, is to create something that's a joyful sense memory, like you said.
Hmm.
That's it. You know, it's it's specific to us. It's specific to, our culture and Jewish culture and how people interact. But I always feel that the more specific you are to your own story, the more universal it is to
Hmm.
everyone else who can see themselves in your story, right? Who can see I did something similar, or my aunt is just the same way, or I don't know my place in my family either, and I'm trying to find this thing. And, you know, I just think there's so much going on to try to put something out that's not political, that's just positive. That's just, hey, this is the stories we're trying to tell. And if you see yourself in them, that's that's the best thing that can happen, right?
Oh, absolutely. We very much try to champion positivity on the show. Uh Lord knows my entire crew is just a bunch of idiots trying to make each other laugh all the time. So we definitely get that. And I have to say I respect the because I've always been told from whether they be critics or whether they be people trying to help is to write what you know. And it
Mhm.
clearly you guys have come across as the to write what you know and to also write what you uh write what hasn't been written.
Mhm.
So, if there's a movie or a comic or a story that you guys want to see told and no one's telling it, you guys have taken the effort, the initiative to be like, well, I'm gonna write it.
Mhm.
I'm gonna do it. I'm gonna make what I want to see. While also these are my experiences growing up, and these are my crazy relatives that I've had to deal with. And hear some of the inspirations from your childhood, especially coming out of the Archie comics and the Calvin and Hobbs style. So I very much have to respect that.
Yeah, I think it's interesting because I also partake in part of the Scott Snyder workshops that he does through
Oh.
Substack, because that's where the cloakroom also comes from, the students of that workshop. And he also often says, write what you want to see,
Hmm.
create something that you want to personally see, that you would enjoy, that you would read, right? And I think that's empowering to create something that the idea that if you want to see it, someone else out there will likely want to also see it. Whether
Hmm.
it's a handful of people, whether it's a ton of people, you don't know, but you're not entirely alone in what you want to create, what you want to read, what you want to partake in. Um, and that was proven when Alex read the script, and Alex was like, "Oh yeah, I can really see myself, and I can do this."
Hmm.
And he and I really got into then bouncing things off each other. We joke around that, we kid and play it back and forth, like one thing to the other. Um, where, for instance, in terms of the characters, for Ben, the way I wrote him as this, like I said, Bugsy Siegel, Columbo detective. Everyone else is dressed for holidays. He's always wearing a suit, right? Was a thing. And then Alex says, I really think it'd be cool if Ben's suit is just a little too big, right?
Yep.
Um, And it's like, because, you go with your parents buy you a suit. It's either the suit that's available or it's a hand-me-down.
Hmm.
And it kind of takes the piss out of the character a little bit. He's like, look how big I am and look how great I am. And
Right.
his suit, just the sleeves are a little like this, and this is a little like this. And it just made the character even more relatable visually, right? And as a character. So it's that kind of collaboration and the back and forth that's really open between us and
Hmm.
our colorist, Ralph, as well, who's based out of Ralph I met when I was did courses at Kubert, so I've known
Hmm.
him for a bit. Um, and and we all sort of collaborate in that way together.
Oh, that's excellent. And I very much I feel the same with some of Curbside's projects. We're playing a literal Power Ranger tabletop game right now because we're all I mean, you can see it behind me. That the OG Red Ranger helmet, that's
Yeah.
autographed and everything. So, um, we love, Power Rangers. So we've done tabletop games since the beginning of the channel, and we're like, well, there's a Power Ranger game out there. We have people that are interested in this. And then we go to a Power Ranger convention last year and tell a bunch of people that we're working on season two, and they were all super excited about it. So the fact that, we're bringing that niche that we want to see and that other people want to see, uh is just like you guys going, well, this is what we want to see. We know someone out there is also wanting this. Someone else is also trying to experience this. So I find that so fascinating. Um, but you did mention that you guys have some other projects that you have in the works that you're cooking up right now. What else is on the horizon for you for your team?
Well, we have this, this project is the main focus, is the Schticks and
Hmm.
Stones holiday special. We're looking to do more Sticks and Stones, hopefully if this is, successful and it's already hit its initial funding goal so amazingly on day one. We were unbelievably
That
floored as a couple of, novice Kickstarter folk, because I've been in other people's Kickstarters and never had to all encompassingly, do one with other people and watch it and refresh it maniacally. Um, and it's been a journey, and it's been learning, and I love learning about, how those things are. So, that hit and we were super excited about it. So,
Mhm.
um, and now we've surpassed our goal and we're going on the halfway mark, and we have some new things we're revealing that we're super stoked about. Um, so that's been exciting. So we're really putting all our focus on the Sticks and Stones book. Um, then more of that coming out. Um, I have a one project I'm working on as a pitch for a series with another artist as a team. We have another pitch we're doing for a YA book that's a little separate. I know Alex has
Excellent.
some of his own projects as well that he's working on. He had a couple things come out. He had a story in the Flash Gordon Volume 2, that Flash Gordon Anthology Volume 2 that came out from Paper Cuts, which was beautiful. Um, so we sort of all, kind of keep pushing forward. Um, I have a short comic that's actually coming out on will be on Kickstarter, I think later this summer, early fall, with Lifeline Comics, um, who I adore, and they're fantastic people and publishers. Um,
Excellent.
so yeah, so just kind of pushing ahead and trying to write things and create things that we want to see and that we find interesting, and putting little pieces of ourselves out there.
Oh, excellent. No, I very much, ironically enough, because you had to bring up Flash Gordon. We got a chance only 2 months ago to actually interview Sam Jones at a
Oh, no
convention.
way.
So when you brought up Flash, I had to shamelessly self-plug the fact that we got to talk to him.
I need to go
Uh,
find that link and
yes, I'll
watch
send
it.
it to you immediately. Don't you
Okay.
worry. Um, I will say it's a very funny story. Because I've met him before, but I've never gotten a chance to interview him until now. And when I asked him if he was willing to do an interview, he was like, "Yeah, I'm totally willing." And then he said he'd only answer like two or three questions. And I go, "Cool. How do I stretch an interview off two or three questions?" I and God bless Sam. I asked him one question, and this man began to talk for what felt like 5 minutes straight. And I go, that's how I'm gonna do it. I just let him go. I put the coin in the machine, and he started going. But it was
Fantastic.
a really cool experience to get to meet him, interview him. Um, Also, I'm a pretty big person myself. Sam is huge. He's
Yeah.
he's
Did you run into
easily
him?
a couple of
How did you
church.
meet him? Was it at a con, or
It
did you
was a
like?
convention.
Yeah, yeah. Nice.
So, So he easily had a couple inches on me, and I'm not exactly a small person.
Oh
So
my gosh.
it was quite an experience. Um,
Yeah, watching that movie, back in the day, I mean, it's just an
mhm.
influential movie and soundtrack, you know.
Oh, especially the soundtrack.
Yeah. I mean, crazy. But then, the bad guy was Timothy Dalton, right?
Hmm.
Was yeah, you're like, oh, come on.
Such a
It's
class.
it's classic.
Um, Damn, I just lost my train of thought, and I'm sorry for that.
More Flash
Uh,
Gordon. Yeah.
yeah, more Flash Gordon, definitely. So,
This is where we
with
break into this is where we break into the Queen soundtrack.
shh,
He'll
don't
save every one of us.
Flash. Um, so with that being said, are you guys doing any appearances coming up? Do you guys have any cons, any places you guys are going to be
Well,
showing up to
we're
really push
looking
the
at Rose
project?
City Comic Con. Rose City Comic Con
Okay.
is the Portland-based con.
Hmm.
And then when the book is ready to be, is printed and out, and towards the end of the year, we're going to do local store book launch and signings in the Portland area, which will be very cool. And
Excellent.
you know, we're really looking forward to that and putting that out in the world. So
Excellent. So I won't ask for spoilers. I won't ask it for anything too big. But with trying to do more Schticks and Stones and with trying to do more specials, any particular, I don't want to call it topic, but any particular like ideas that you guys have for part two, it kind of loaded in the chamber that you can share without giving
yeah,
too
well,
much away?
there's a lot of things. What I really love about Sticks and Stones is like that it is that throwback to Sunday Funnies and Harvey Comics where you have these characters that are malleable, right?
Hmm.
And it's a family of characters. If you look at something like Hanna-Barbera's old shows like the Jetsons and
Hmm.
the Flintstones, or you look at newer shows, if you want to call them newer, even though they've been on forever, Family Guy, Simpsons, stuff like
Hmm.
that. Um, you have a series of characters in a family, and you can explore every character as deep as you want to go. And that was what was really interesting to us about it was we can have stories that focus on grandma. We can have stories that focus on the cousins. We can have stories that focus on the uncle and the dad doing the thing. Like you can really get into the different dynamics of the
Hmm.
family and make it funny. Um, so one of the part in the holiday special is all the holidays are actually connected by another story, right?
Hmm.
So, and you'll probably get a kick out of it. So the new character we're introducing is um, Ben's cousin Ella, who's in
Hmm.
high school, who is fancies herself an influencer, has a YouTube show, and her show is called Schmoozing with Ella. And she has Ben on Schmoozing with Ella and is interviewing him, but it's not unlike the beginning of, Scorsese movies where they're being interviewed and they're like, well, it was kind of like this,
Uh-huh.
and he sort of talks about the holidays while being interviewed by her. And that's the story that connects all the holidays together.
Oh, okay. I like
Um,
that.
so taking the thing like we can do a story on just Ella doing her influencer thing and getting in trouble and doing things. And
Mm.
by getting her holiday special out of the way in the beginning, in a
Right.
way, it's kind of funny because holiday specials, that's kind of the gag where it's like, oh, well, sometimes you have to earn a holiday special. You get like a season under your belt of something or a number of issues, and you're like, now is the holiday special. And we decided to launch with it because it's such a pressure cooker environment,
Mm.
and we wanted to see Jewish holidays represented um,
Absolutely.
that we thought this was a great way to introduce these characters in these high stakes holiday environments and have these mysteries.
Hmm.
So moving forward, I think we take them out of the holidays and see what it's like for these characters in other environments,
Hmm.
right? Like, um, you know, Ben, Ben and Mark enter the science fair at their middle school, right? And that's crazy and what happens there. Or Mark's family thinks, oh, you know what? No one in our family does anything outdoors, which is not unlike, a lot of families that I know.
Right.
So let's put them in scouts, you know, And, all of a sudden you have Ben in his suit trying to set up a tent, and
Uh-huh.
that I think there's just a lot to mine there,
Oh
and we
yeah.
can really take it in this family oriented, growing up, trying to find your place, um, coming of age type of thing with just a lot of comedy and heart to it.
No, that truly is wonderful. As someone who was very much kind of uh the knuckleheaded nerdy loser in high school, trying to find people, trying to find what makes you you is very important, and it's really fun. We have a running joke between some of the people on the show here of where did your lore start? Where did what's in front of the camera right now, where did all that begin? And mine begins with watching Power Rangers at 2 years old because it's the only thing that would keep me sitting in place. And then my dad introduced me to comedy movies that he would watch, thus creating my sense of humor.
Hmm.
Unfortunately for me, all of those movies were obnoxious slapstick movies. So Tommy Boy, Ace Ventura, The Mask, movies of that nature.
Yeah,
So
yeah.
I grew up being a loud, obnoxious, kind of smart aleck. So to see these coming of age stories that we've all kind of experienced and we've all kind of lived through is really fascinating to me, and I'm very intrigued to see where you guys can take it.
Thank you. Yeah, I think it's for generationally, that's what's fun about this type of story is people
Mm,
relate to it on different levels. Like you and I relate to it based on these memories we have
mm.
of growing up, and people and the kids now can relate to it on a different level of the jokes and different things that are there. And it's really a focus to try to make it something that can be enjoyed on multiple levels for those reasons, you know. Um, and those kind of stories, like, I remember watching like Happy Gilmore, like
Oh
all those
yeah.
early, slaps and things. Like one of the funniest things ever is back in the day when no one had devices on their airplane, you had to watch a movie on the
Mhm.
airplane, like in the
Yep.
things
Yep.
that were like the little crappy airplane TVs that were
Oh
really
yeah.
high up. You had to hurt your neck. So I was on an airplane and they were playing Happy Gilmore, and you have to wear their really bad headphones.
Hmm.
And it was just really weird because I took my headphones off, and with your headphones off, you can't hear the movie,
Right.
but you hear the whole airplane laughing.
Yep.
And I really remember taking off my headphones. You don't know what's going on, but it's an airplane of people laughing. And it's a really weird memory, but it stuck with me as something that was really kind of funny and that people were enjoying it together, but not together.
Oh yeah. No, that's awesome. I love that. Um, oh. See, now I'm just thinking of all the random comedies that I grew up watching and that I
And a big
learned
influence on
from.
Alex and I were the
Uh,
Mel Brooks comedies.
oh,
You
yep,
know,
right in the vein.
yeah. So
Um,
the Mel Brooks stuff really hits, and that's really something that I as a writer try to channel, and I think timing wise, artistically, Alex tries to channel it too. You know, when you look at things like Young Frankenstein and the producers and Blazing
mhm.
Saddles,
I
all those movies.
I absolutely love Blazing Saddles. Got to very shortly meet one of the castmates from Blazing Saddles. Looking forward to Spaceballs 2. I'd
Oh
love,
my
I
gosh, I
mean,
so can't wait.
oh my goodness. I'm so glad that we get the quest for more money.
Yeah.
Um, but no, that kind of comedy is definitely the kind of stuff that just straight into the veins. Love it. Um, so I'm very much looking forward to your story. Um, as we kind of wind down here, where can the people find you? Where can they support this Kickstarter? Where can they find all the information on Sticks and Stones?
Sure. Sticks and Stones is currently on Kickstarter.
Mm.
So I'm sure you will post a link. You can also find it at
Yes.
Schticks, sticksinstones.com with an N in the middle. That also points to the Kickstarter. Um, you could find me on Instagram. I'm at Aaron Cohen Writes. On Blue Sky, I'm at DA Cohen. Um, and the Kickstarter itself, we're going to have a couple new things coming up. Later on this week, we have our C variant cover. We're going to be revealing it, and it's by Eisner Award-winning artist Mike Kunkel, who is amazing, and he's honoring us with a cover. And I've seen the pencils, and it's fantastic. And you might know him from Hero Bear and the Kid. He did Billy Batson and Shazam for DC,
Nice.
um, and a bunch of other things. So um, we're just really lucky that he agreed to do a variant cover for us, and it's gonna, we're gonna drop that real soon.
Well, consider me intrigued because I know we talked about it a little bit beforehand. I saw the variant B cover, the Akira, uh not so much the
Yeah,
motorcycle as it is the bicycle,
the
But
Hanukkah bicycle. Yeah,
the Akira cover is wonderful, so I'm interested to see what your variant C cover looks like.
yeah, and the variant cover, the main cover is by Alex Schumacher, our the series artist, and then the B cover is by Ralph Singh, who is our colorist and letterer for the series. Um, and C is by the amazing Mike Kunkel. So it's going to be, we're just really honored and with these amazing covers that we have for the book. Um, and I've been saying that the Akira cover is the first Jewish Akira homage cover. I'm making it up. I'm totally making it up. It could not
uh,
be correct. I don't see how it's not correct. But so
See, now I'm gonna have to
it,
look.
it
I'm
I
gonna
could be
have to
wrong.
research.
I could be wrong, but I don't think there's a lot of Akira homage covers with like a kid with a yarmulke walking towards the thing. I don't think we might be the only one, in which case, highly collectible. That's all I'm saying.
That's one of a kind right there.
Yeah, I don't
Oh,
know. I could be completely lying. So
that's
up front, but Alex says if I say it enough, someone will just be like, "Yeah, that's the only one that says that."
that's wonderful. Um, well, before we wrap up, is there anything you'd like to say to the good people of the internet? Anything you'd like to just share with everyone out there in the world?
I just think, the one thing that really takes me with creation and making something and writing and comics is the community of
Mhm.
people. And if anyone listening is a creator or wants to create or is thinking about it, you can do whatever you want to do. You can put your story out there, you can put yourself out there. And the community of people that I've come across, and I've been very, very fortunate, have been, just very open and very honest, and everyone who just wants to tell stories and have people relate to what they're saying. And I think that's a very cool, positive, environment to be a part of. So,
Absolutely.
everyone, go do your thing, put a piece of yourself out there, whether it's a comic, whether it's cooking a meal, whether it's making a table, whatever it is.
Absolutely. That's awesome. Well, Aaron, thank you so much for sitting down with me tonight. Thank you for sharing this wonderful story. I'm looking forward to getting my hands on it. It sounds like it's just right up my alley, right in the veins. Uh, but thank you for sitting down with me. Thank you for your time. Ladies and gentlemen, thank you for listening. Thank you for watching tonight. As always, like us on Facebook, follow us on Instagram, tap a little bell on your YouTube app so you never miss the uploads. I'm gonna get this thing turned around and posted as quick as I can, so you guys don't miss out on the Kickstarter. Um, Also, do not forget April 25th, Garland, Texas. We're gonna be at DamCon, Destroy All Monsters. It's DamCon 3, their third year, our second year back with them. So we're looking forward to that. We'll be hosting some of their Q&A panels with guests including the director of Godzilla Final Wars, the star of the audition, the blue Turbo Power Ranger, and the actresses that played Rita Repulsa and Trakina from Power Rangers, the series. So go get your tickets for DamnCon now. You still have a chance. And thank you all for watching. Thank you for listening. Aaron, thank you for sitting down with me.
Thanks so much for having me. I really appreciate it. Great chat.
A- Absolute blast. Thank you so much. And with that, ladies and gentlemen, uh, follow all our social medias. Check out Renegade Rangers Season 2 on our Twitch and on our YouTube. And thank you for stopping Curbside.